Hello everyone. In today's video we are going to learn a very important topic of computer networks or networking, that is OSI. OSI reference model or OSI model, or we also call it as OSI layers. So this concept is really very important to know how two different computers interact with each other. So in today's video or in today's lecture, we are going to see in detail what is OSI model all about, why is it needed, how in practical times it plays a very important role, and apart from these understandings, we are going to learn which are the different layers of OSI model and how are they significant with each other. Fine. So first of all, about the abbreviation. So you must be wondering that what OSI means. So OSI stands for Open Systems Interconnection. Okay, OSI stands for, let me write it here, Open Systems Interconnection. So first of all, let's understand what this OSI model, OSI reference model is all about. So guys, let's take it as this way, that whenever two computers, let's say there are two computers, computer A and computer B, these two computers want to interact with each other, want to communicate with each other. So what are the different possible ways? Let's say the only consideration you have to consider is that both of these computers are present in a network. So like network can be anything. So two computers present in a network wants to communicate with each other. So one simplest possible way for this is, let's say these two are available locally. In such case, if they are in the same network available locally, they can interact with each other through LAN cable. Fine, local area network. So this is one possible, very simple scenario. But let's say we are having, so fine, this is one scenario in which they can directly communicate with each other through local area network cable. They can directly communicate. But what if the scenario is, let's say one network, let's say one computer is in one network and another computer is in completely different network. Let's say it is using Windows OS, and let's say it is using iOS. Okay, so with this kind of consideration, when both of these computers are in completely different network, are using completely different architecture, in such cases the communication between them is possible through OSI layers. Got it? What is the main need? Because see, whenever we are studying anything, no doubt the main topic, the subtopics of it, the like in OSI layer, what are the different layers? It is very important. What is the significance or importance of every layer? That is also very important. But before going into detail of any video or any topic, the main thing that you should be understanding is why we are understanding this. Why this topic is important enough to understand. So this why is very important. You should be knowing why you are studying a particular subject or topic, and then the topic automatically becomes interesting, right? So in this case, we are trying to understand what is the use of OSI layer or OSI reference model, because whoever might have invented it long ago, there must have been some reason behind it, right? So this is the reason behind OSI reference model, that if there are two systems located in far away different networks, they are using different architectures. In such cases, this OSI reference model helps them to communicate with each other. Okay, so there will be 7 layers of OSI that I told, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These 7 layers of OSI, these 7 OSI layers will help A and B to communicate with each other when they are using completely different networks and architecture. Fine. Okay, now being said that, let me try to make you understand with a very simple topic. Let's say email. Nowadays we know that everything is becoming digitalized, right? So there are lots of communications happening in over our internet. Fine. So let's say you want to send any email to your friend, your colleague, or whoever it may be. Fine. So according to us, apparently, what seems like the system, according to us, it seems very simple, that I am drafting one email. I have drafted the whole email. I have written the email ID of the person whom I want to send that email, and after writing the whole email, after writing the subject, after writing the email ID, I simply have to click on the send button, and as soon as I am clicking on the send button, within seconds it reaches to the recipient who should be receiving that email. Fine. According to us, this is the simple thing that is going on, but it is not that easy. Between you click on send and that person actually receives that email, all these OSI layers takes place. They play an important role, and due to their importance, finally your receiver is able to receive that email in particular proper format. Fine. So yes, this whole system, this whole flow takes place within milliseconds. That's why we don't understand the actual flow that is going on in the backend. But yes, it is very important to understand. So let's try to understand this. Let's say whoever sender A is, he is sending an email. Okay. And let's say one receiver B is there, he or she is receiving the email. See, I am just taking the example of email, but try to understand it quite broadly. This is what happens whenever two parties are communicating with each other. Fine. So whenever two parties are communicating with each other through email or whatever it is, always at one particular time, one of the party would be your sender and another one of them would be the receiver. Okay. So what happens whenever two systems are trying to communicate with each other? Fine. One OSI, like all these, as I told you, there are 7 OSI layers, 7 layers of OSI. Okay. 7 layers of OSI models. So these 7 layers will be working individually at the sender side, as well as again at the receiver side. Again, these 7 layers will be playing its importance role. So let's see how it happens. So let's say one party A is there who is sending the email, and B is there who is receiving the email. So what happens at both the sides, we are having different layers of OSI reference model working. So here we will be having 7. And again at the receiver side we will be having 7 layers. Okay. Fine. Now one important part is, what are the name of these 7 layers? So guys, these 7 layers of OSI model are very important. You should be remembering the names. And it is not like just the 7 names you need to remember, but in this case the sequence is also very important, because all these layers are in some way or the other dependent on each other. Fine. All these layers will be dependent on each other, so you have to remember them in sequence, and collaboratively all these 7 layers helps the two parties to communicate. So whenever like this is irrespective of the topic, I am saying that whenever you need to remember anything in sequence, it's good to remember it through some pattern, right? You must have been remember, because I think most of us have learned it that way only. When we were down the line, I think in 5th, 6th or 7th standard, when we were learning simplification in mathematics, our teacher used to tell us about the BODMAS rule. You must be remembering it till date. Why? Because it was organized in such a way. So the point is, if we try to remember anything with the help of some sequence like BODMAS, we do remember it for lifetime, right? So the point that I was telling is that in OSI also we are having 7 layers, and you should remember the name of the 7 layers sequentially. So it's good to make some pattern. You can make your own pattern, but the way how I try to remember it is X, 10 dp. Fine, you can make your own way, but this is how I try to remember, and so I'm trying to tell you also, so that like every student is having their own way to remember the things, but this is one of the way that you can remember. So A stands for application layer. Okay, let's write it inside only. A stands for application layer. P stands for presentation. S is for session. T stands for transport layer. N is for network. D is for data link layer. And finally P is for physical layer. Okay, so these are the 7 layers of OSI reference model. Now in the receiver side also there is nothing different. Again these 7 layers will be working there also. X, NGP, T and DP. So here also these layers will be working. Now how actually the thing takes place is, A is sending the email. As I told that we are just drafting the email, writing the email ID of the sender, clicking on send, and as soon as we click on the send, we see that it is received by the receiver. But in between these things, what happens for us, it seems that directly the email is going from our computer to their computer, but actually how it goes, actually this email goes through all these and finally it reaches here. Actually how it goes, it starts from the application layer of sender and it goes all the way down and finally it reaches to the application layer of the receiver B, and then the receiver B is able to actually read the mail. Fine. So that's why, as I told, these 7 layers of OSI reference model is very, very important. So let's quickly, as I told that after this, like here I'm trying to make you understand this, the importance of these layers with the help of a simple example of email. So let's quickly try to see how each layer works here. But after that what we will do is, individually we will be taking each layer and we will be understanding that what that layer's importance is, what are the different functionalities taken care of by any layer, and what are the different protocols that any layer is providing. Fine. So we will be seeing them one by one. But here in case of this email, see, first of all, as I told, it starts from the application layer of the sender and it ends at the application layer of the receiver. So here in this application layer, what happens, that application layer is providing us the protocols, or you can say it is providing us the facility to draft an email, to add attachment to the email. Many times we are attaching the attachments like any documents, audio, video files, anything. So writing the email, sending the email, attaching any attachment to the email, all these functionalities can be carried out with the help of this application layer. Fine. So it is giving us those facilities, those protocols we will be seeing in detail. So in application layer we are drafting the whole email, attaching the attachments and then sending the email. Presentation layer, in this case the main part of the presentation layer would be, presentation layer takes care of the things like encoding, decoding, encryption, decryption, fine, or let's say compression. For example, you are having a large content, fine, a large content, or let's say you are having any audio file or video file that is very large of some multiple GBs. In those cases, presentation layer helps us to compress the attachment or compress the media file before sending. Fine. So all those things are taken care by the presentation layer. Then comes the session layer. Now in this case, the main important part that session layer will play is of synchronization. So you can take it as like that whatever content you are sending through mail to the receiver, session layer ensures that that content is being received by the receiver. Fine. So this, what you are sending and what the receiver is actually receiving, synchronizing this content is the task played by the session layer. Okay, so mainly it takes care of the synchronization of the content. Then we are having transport layer. Now here this transport layer and network layer, both these layers are important to transfer your original message. Okay, so what is the difference between them? So in the network layer, let's say take them as A is sender, that means A is one host. Okay, similarly B is the receiver, so B is a host. Now inside the system A, maybe there are multiple processes going on, and inside the system B, maybe here also multiple processes are going on. So what this network layer will ensure? This network layer will ensure that the message is coming from the sender and it should be reached up to the receiver B. So the transmission of the message from the system A to system B, host A to host B, is taken care of by this transport layer. Okay, and what this is taken care of network layer, sorry, this network layer. Okay, so network layer ensures that the message, the desired message should be transferred from one host to another host and to the correct host. Okay, and what this transport layer does? Transport layer ensures that the message reaches to the correct process number or the port number. That means what? A is sending the mail, so network layer will ensure that the mail will be received by this B host, and transport layer will ensure that inside B it reaches to the correct desired port number or the process number. Fine. So delivering the message to the correct host is the responsibility of network layer, and delivering the message to the correct process number or the port number is the responsibility of the transport layer. Okay, then we are having data link layer. So generally what data link layer is doing is, it is taking care of error control, flow control. So in case there is anything out of synchronization, there is any error in any bit, in such cases data link layer can help to identify that and correct that. Okay, then we are having physical layer. So generally what is the task of physical layer? That physical layer will transfer from here, it will transfer the contents of the mail to the physical layer of the receiver in bits. Fine. So in the physical layer, the things are transmitted in the form of bits. So original email content will be transferred from the physical layer of the sender to the physical layer of the receiver in terms of bits. So here in the physical layer, bits will be received, and again from bits framing will be there, and all these things will again be done in the reverse order in the receiver side, and again processing these bits. Fine, as I told, in the physical layer the email contents will be received in the form of bits. Now those bits will get processed by each layer, and finally in the application layer the receiver will receive the original email content that was sent. Got it? So I have given the example of email because email is something that nowadays we are doing day by day. Fine. So you can correlate well. So it is not like we are sending the mail and it is being received directly, but we are sending the mail, it is going through all this process, and then your receiver is able to receive your email as desired. Fine. So this is how OSI layers actually work, and that is why OSI layers are very important to study, as well as if you talk about any competitive exam, any academics exam, everywhere in computer networks or networking subject, this is one of the most commonly asked questions or asked topics. Fine, because it is really that important. So now what we will quickly do is, we will now go to each and every layer. We will go deep down into the layers and try to see what those layers are actually doing and how are they significant. So guys, first of all, let's learn about physical layer. So physical layer is the lowest layer of OSI model, as we have seen the hierarchy, we have already seen, right, the sequence. So physical layer, as you have noticed, it is the lowest layer, and it is also known as, so as it is the lowest layer, physical layer is also known as lower layer, or it is also known as hardware layer. So among the all the 7 layers of OSI model that we have seen, the last 3 layers, that is physical, data link and network, these 3 layers are also known as hardware layer, right? And the above 3 layers are also known as software layers. Fine. So physical layer is also known as, to sum up, it is also known as lower layer or the hardware layer. So what this physical layer does, as I told, it is used to transmit information in the form of bits. Okay, so this is a very important point to know, that in physical layer the information is always stored in the form of bits, and then it is transferred in the form of bits only. So what are the main functionalities of this physical layer? Because in many exams generally they ask about the functionalities. So if we talk about the main 4 functionalities of physical layer, they are bit synchronization, bit rate control, physical topologies and transmission mode. So let's understand each of them. First of all, bit synchronization. So what do we mean by the function of bit synchronization? So this physical layer is responsible to synchronize the bits using a clock. So there is a clock defined at the side of sender as well as at the side of receiver, and this clock is used to ensure that all the bits that are being transformed are in synchronization. Okay, so bit synchronization is an important factor or important function of physical layer to make sure that all the bits transformed from one physical layer to another physical layer is in synchronous. They are synchronous, right? So bit synchronization. Then comes bit rate control. So physical layer is responsible to take care of the bit rates of the bits that are being transformed. So what do we mean by bit rate? It is the number of bits transferred per second. Okay, so the number of bits transferred per second is being calculated, and they are taken care of. This bit rate is taken care of, or they are controlled with the help of physical layer. And then we are having physical topologies. So what physical topology will be used for the communication is defined by this physical layer. You must already be knowing about the different physical technologies that are present, like we are having mesh topology, bus topology, star, hybrid, right? There are different kind of topologies available, and based on the type of sender and receiver in the physical layer, this decision is taken that which physical topology is the best fit to use in that case. Okay, so physical topologies are also determined with the help of physical layer. Then the 4th functionality we are having is transmission mode. So what should be the mode of transmission between the receiver and the sender is also determined by the physical layer. Transmission mode in the sense whether it should be half duplex, full duplex, simplex, right? So what is the transmission mode that should be used between a certain sender and receiver is determined with the help of physical layer. Now if we talk about the main devices that are used in physical layer is hub, repeater, modem, cables, etc. Because as I already told you, physical layer is also known as hardware layer. So in the hardware layer, different devices that are used is hub, repeater, modem, cables, etc. These hardwares. Okay. So if you are asked about the devices, so these are the devices that are used by the physical layer. Fine. So overall, this is the physical layer in a nutshell. Now let's go to our second layer, second lowest layer, that is data link layer. So the second lowest layer is data link layer. Fine. So as we have discussed, like physical layer, data link layer is also a hardware layer. Fine. Now what is the main task of data link layer? As I have told you, I have explained you at the time of email flow also, that the main task of data link layer is, if there is any error in the physical layer, it is detected by the data link layer. So see what mainly data link layer does, it ensures data transfer is error free from one node to another over physical layer. So at the time of transmitting the data from the physical layer, If there is any error, it is detected by this data link layer, and if needed, if the data is full of error, it just discards that data and tells it to transmit again. Fine. So that is one of the most important tasks that this data link layer does. And apart from that, what are the other functionalities of data link layer? Framing, physical addressing, control, error control, flow control, and access control. Fine. So if we talk about framing, so what is framing? In the data link layer, we have seen that the data is transmitted in the form of bits. Okay, bit by bit the data is transmitted in the physical layer. That means what? In the data link layer, the input that we are receiving is bits. So what data link layer does? It does the task of framing. It takes the kind of collection of bits. By taking the collection of bits, it makes different frames so that the data takes a meaning. Fine. So what it is doing? It is taking the bits and making it or transmitting it into meaningful frames. So that is what known as framing. Then physical addressing. So while creating the frames, along with the frame, what data link layer does is, along with the framing, it attaches the physical address of the sender and receiver so that the data is transmitted to the desired location. So that is about physical addressing. Then we are having error control. So as I told, in the data link layer, whatever data we have received from physical layer, it is checked if it is error free or not. In case it is, in case any error is detected, then it tells the sender that this is the error, we cannot accept it. It discards the data, and then the data is supposed to be transferred again. So this is how it does the error controlling in data link layer. Then flow controlling. In the flow controlling, it ensures that the flow through which the data is being transmitted from the sender and the flow at which the data is being received and the receiver, it should be synchronized. That means what? It makes sure that no data is lost in between. So generally, what is the mechanism behind it? Generally, how it handles the flow control is that sender sends a definite amount of data, and it is defined as a particular amount that after sending particular amount of data, the sender has to wait for the acknowledgement of the receiver. And once the receiver, let's say 100, okay, so if any information is given 1, 2, 3 up to 100 bits, so from the receiver side we should get an acknowledgement that okay, all the 100 data is being received, now you can start sending from 101. Fine. So in this way it makes sure that the flow of sender and receiver is synchronized by defining a particular amount of data. After sending that data, acknowledgement should be received, and then only the further data can be sent. In order to make sure that whatever data is sent by the sender, they are received in a proper time by the receiver. So this is what we known as, this is what flow control is there, and this is done by again data link layer. And one of the again important functionality of data link layer is access control. So I think you already knew about flow control, error control, but now what is access control? So access control is a functionality that is equally important. So let's say if there is a network that is shared among multiple systems, so there must be a rule defined that within any given period of time, that network should be used by any specific system only. So this thing is taken care by the data link layer, that at any given period of time the access to that network or the medium is given to any one system. Like no communication should disturb one another, right? So at a given period of time only one system should have access to that link, and like they should be done in a shared manner but one by one, such that no communication is disturbed by any other communication. So this kind of access control is also taken care of by data link layer. And apart from that, we have already seen the devices that are used in physical layer. Similarly, the devices that are used by the data link layer are bridge and switch. Okay, these two are the important devices that are used by the data link layer. So this is all about data link layer. Now we will go to our third layer, that is network layer. Now comes the third layer, that is network layer. So the main task of network layer is data transmission from one host to another located in different networks. So like we can go a little quickly because I have already explained you all these things with the help of email example, right? So there also we have seen that the main task of network layer is to transmit the data from one host to another host. Remember I have told you, if A and B are two different hosts, then transmitting the data from this one host to another is done by network layer, and then transmitting the data to the particular port or process is done by transport layer. Fine. So network layer is all about transmitting the data from one host to another that are located in different networks. Fine. Now if we talk about the main functionalities of network layer, it is two, that is routing and logical addressing. So first of all, what is routing? Routing is the most important functionality of network layer. So what is routing? That means what? Routing in a single line, you can say that routing is all about determining the perfect or the best possible route. That means what? Source is there. Let's say this is source A, this is destination B. Now in order to reach from source A to destination B, there can be many possible ways. Like one is the straight way, one is like this, like this, like this, like this. I can take any kind of routes in order to reach from source A to destination B. But in terms of time, in terms of complexity, in terms of what is the expense, by considering different characteristics, I have to determine that which of all the possible ways is the best way or the best route to reach from A to B. So we have various routing algorithms to determine that, but however this functionality of determining the route between a source and destination in determining the best route is known as routing, and this routing is actually done in the network layer. And the second main important functionality is logical addressing. That means what? To ensure that one packet from the source is reaching to the right destination, in order to ensure that what network layer is doing is, along with the packet, along with the data, in the header it is attaching logical address or IP address. Okay, logical address is also known as IP address. So what it is doing is, it is attaching that IP address or the logical address with the header, so that the data reaches to the proper destination only. Fine. So this is again one of the most important functionality. Apart from that, in order to implement this network layer, networking device is used, that is known as router. Fine. So the device for the network layer is router. So this is all about network layer. Now we will go to our fourth layer, that is the transport layer. So transport layer. Transport layer, as we have learned, that in transport layer it is responsible of receiving the message or sending the message to the particular port or process of any particular host. So we can say that transport layer is responsible for end-to-end delivery of the complete message. End-to-end delivery, it is called end-to-end delivery, because from any particular port or process of one system, it delivers the message to the required particular port or process of another system. Fine. So who does end-to-end delivery of message? Transport layer does that. Okay. Now, what are the main functionalities of transport layer? It is, the first one is segmentation and reassembly, and the second one is service point addressing. So what do we mean by segmentation and reassembly? So the transport layer at the sender side will do segmentation, and that, because I have told you, right, that all the 7 layers we are having at the sender side as well as at the receiver side. So the transport layer at the sender side will do segmentation, and the transport layer at the side of receiver will do the reassembly. Just remember that for sender S, segmentation is done S, for receiver R, reassembly R is done. See, these are little small tricks that will help you to remember the things well. Okay. So what is segmentation? So at the sender side, transport layer will help to do the segmentation, like it will break down the whole message into very small segments so that it will be easy to transfer them. And contrary, on the receiver side, what it will do, it will receive the messages in segments and then it will do the task of reassembling, right? Because obviously if we are breaking the parts, let's say, understand it like this. For example, our message is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay. Now let's say we are making segments A, B, C, E, F, G, H, I, J. These are the three segments that is going towards the receiver. Now for example, on the way, the sequence is little bit changed and at the receiver side we are receiving H, I, J, one segment, A, B, C, another segment, and the third segment that is being received is E, F, G. So what reassembly means in the transport layer? In the transport layer of the receiver side, these messages will be reassembled. While it will read H, I, J, A, B, C, E, F, G, it will try to understand that this message in this sequence is not making any sense. So what it will do, it will try to reassemble this message in such a way that it will give a meaningful message, right? So what it will do, it will take these fragments, then it will try to reassemble them, and finally it can be reassembled as this will be the first frame, this will be the second frame, and this will be the third frame. Okay, so dividing this whole message into different segments is known as segmentation, and again taking these segments and reassembling them to make a meaningful message is reassembly. Okay, so this is the meaning of segmentation and reassembly. And as I told, transport layer at the sender side will do segmentation and at the receiver side it will do reassembly. Okay, if you understand like these things, if you try to understand all things logically, it will be very easier for you to remember the things. What is the second one? The second functionality is service point addressing. So as we have seen, try to relate it like that. We have seen that in data link layer, it is attaching physical address along with the header. In network layer, it was attaching IP address or logical address with the packet. Similarly, in transport layer, what we want to do is we want to do end-to-end delivery. Port or delivery from one port or process to another port or process, right? So what transport layer will do? It will attach service port address, service point address, or it is also known as port address. So it will attach this port address along with the header so that the desired message is received up to the desired port number. Okay. So what transport layer is doing? It is attaching service point address or port address with the header so that the delivery can be done in the exact port. So these are the main functionalities of transport layer, and apart from that, this point is very important. As I have told you, what was the sequence we were having? Okay, let me write it here. S, N, D, P, as I have told. In this sequence, these three are known as software layers. These three are known as hardware layer. And this layer in between that we are learning about transport layer, this is actually known as heart of OSI model. See, these are the small things that you should know. Okay, transport layer is known as the heart of OSI model. It is one of the most important layers of OSI model. It is operated by OS. Okay, this transport layer, this layer is operated by the operating system. So this is known as the heart of OSI model. All the layers above it are the software layers, and all the three layers below it are hardware layer. Okay, so three layers are hardware layers, three layers are software layers, and the one in between layers, that is transport layer, is known as the heart of OSI model. Okay, so here we have seen many small but important things in case of this transport layer, related to transport layer. Now quickly let's see the three remaining layers, that is application, presentation and session. So after these four, let's go to our fifth layer, that is the session layer. Now our next three layers, that is session, application and presentation. These three layers are, as we know, they are known as the upper layers or the software Okay, so now first of all let's talk about session layer. These are the three main functionalities of session layer. The first one is it is responsible for connection establishment, maintaining sessions, authentication and security. So I think all these words or all these terms are self-explanatory. That is, the session layer is responsible for establishing the connection. Like before transmitting the data, like again there are two possibilities, either it is connectionless or connection oriented. So if it is connection oriented, that means before sending any data to a particular receiver, there must be the establishment of connection between the sender and the receiver. So this connection establishment is done with the help of session layer. Apart from that, session layer is also responsible for maintaining the sessions. You must be knowing about the session cookies, right? So session means for how long the sender and receiver will be connected and there will be activity between them. So this session layer will be responsible for maintaining that session. It is responsible for maintaining authenticity, maintaining security. All these things are taken care of by the session layer. Apart from that, synchronization. So as I told, synchronization is one of the most important functionality of session layer. So in synchronization, it like this session layer takes care or ensures that whatever data is being transmitted between the sender and the receiver, they are synchronized. Okay, so how it is done? One of the common way through which synchronization is implemented is using checkpoints. So what they are doing, for example, let's take roughly one example, that sender wants to transfer, let's say 1000 pages to receiver. Okay, so it is possible that it is, but obviously we cannot send the whole data at once, right? As I have already discussed, the data is mostly broken down. So let's say what we can do is, in the session layer, let's say we have decided that after every 100 pages, after every 100 pages, there will be checkpoint. Okay, checkpoint, let's call it CP. So let's say 1 to 100 is transferred, and then after this we are having checkpoint 1. 101 to 200 is transferred, then we are having checkpoint 2. 201 to 300 is transferred, then we are having checkpoint 3. So let's say in this way the sender is transferring up to 901 to 1000. Okay, checkpoint 10, I think. Okay, so all these data are supposed to be sent to receiver, but what happens that in between there is any error. Fine, in between let's say there is any error. Now when we are checking from the receiver side, we got that from in the receiver side, if we check the checkpoint, we will get that let's say page number 705 was being transmitted, and at the same time there is some error. So this 705 is not received. But in normal cases, if there is no checkpoint, what can be the possibility? That in case of any error in between, it have to send all these 1000 pages again, right? But in case of checkpoint, what we can do is we can check that which checkpoint is received. So we can check that CP1, CP2 up to CP6 is already received. Now up to CP6 is already received. That means what? From 1 to 700 pages are already received properly. We can understand that. So what the sender will be informed that checkpoint 6 is there. That means 700 pages are already received properly. No need to send them again. You just resend from 701 to 1000. Only resend this much data. Got it? So in this kind of scenario, with the help of synchronization and checkpoints, session layer ensures that a lot of data should not be retransmitted unnecessarily. So this will save the time, this will save the cost, this will save the bandwidth. right? So in this way, synchronization plays a very important role that is handled by session layer. Fine, I hope you have understood this concept that I have made you understood. Okay, then we are having dialog control. So what is dialog control? Like whatever the connection is there between the sender and the receiver, whether it is full duplex or half duplex, session layer ensures that with that mode properly the sender and the receiver are able to communicate with each other, and so it takes care of this dialog control also. Fine. So these are the important concepts that are taken care of by this session layer. Now we are only remaining with two topmost layers, upper layers. They are also known as software layers, that is presentation and application. So let's go through them. So coming to two of our last layers, that is the presentation layer and the application layer. As we know, both are the topmost layers and they both are known as the software layers. Now if we talk about presentation layer, the main three functionalities of presentation layer are translation, encryption and compression. So what is, in terms of, try to imagine these things in terms of email, you will try to understand very in a better way. What is translation? So presentation layer, what it does, the language that the sender is understanding and receiver is understanding must be in sync, right? So in case if we need to translate the given data in one form to another, that is done by the presentation layer, like ASCII to gray code to something else, octal, we know hexadecimal, there are many other different forms, right? So translating the data from one form to another is generally done with the help of presentation layer. Then like presentation layer, as the name itself indicates, it plays an important role in how the data is being presented to the receiver in an understandable way. Okay, so the first part is translation that it does. Then we are having encryption or decryption, right? As we know, there are many factors, there are many like we can say there are many features that are mostly displayed in encryption format. For example, let's say password. Okay, so when any sender is typing the password, it is encrypted, but when it is going to the backend, generally for checking that whether the password is correct or not, it has to check with the database, backend database. So before checking, the encoded password is being decoded into the normal text and then we are matching it with the database. So such kind of encrypting and decrypting the data as per the requirement is also done with the help of presentation layer. Then we are having compression. So as I told, for example, some attachment is very big, we cannot send it as it is. In those cases, we need to compress the data, send it to the receiver, and then again at the receiver side, we need to decompress it into the original size and then we have to view it. So these kind of compression and like compressing the data and then again changing it into the real size, these things is also done with the help of presentation layer as per the requirement. Okay. Then comes our last layer, that is the application layer, which is actually the topmost layer at the sender side. Okay. So what is application layer? As we know, the main application that we are using, like let's say your email services, your browsers, all those things are the actual applications, and in order to use those applications, the protocols and the functionalities that are being provided, they are provided with the help of application layer. So what are the different functionalities provided by the application layer? Network virtual terminal, like you know, you must have used Telnet, right? Directory services, so those Telnet files and folders, those things are mostly provided by the application layer. Then file transfer, mail services, SMTP, those are the protocols that are mostly used by that are mostly provided by the application layer. So what is application? So all these things that we are directly using to send the mail, to receive the mail, to send the attachments, etc., are provided like we are able to do these things with the help of the functionalities that are actually provided by this application layer. So I hope this OSI layers, all the layers of OSI model are clear to you. Now actually what happens that these OSI model is not really used nowadays in internet. The actual thing that is in implementation is TCP/IP model. OSI model is not really used, and so OSI model is known as reference model. Fine, that's why it is known as OSI reference model, because this is being referred, but the actual thing that is in implementation is TCP/IP model. But yes, it is very important to understand. I hope you have we have together understood it well. With the help of, we have seen all the layers individually, and before that we have also seen the real life example of email, how these layers play an important role. So overall we understood the theoretical concept as well as practically how it is used, so that we can relate them well and actually understand that why this topic is that much important. Thank you.